Hello and welcome to a Slice of Gaming podcast, episode 2 for May 26, 2023. On this episode, we'll be recapping the latest PlayStation showcase that happened this past week, as well as talking about other hot topics like Alan Wake 2 going digital only, the Embracer Group, and the latest news that just happened today regarding Last of Us factions. So, not introducing, because we already did that last week, but joining me on today's episode is Bench JC
Hello, nice to be here tonight.
and Dark
Hey, how's it going?
and Fusion Rated.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, and the Uncharted Wolf.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
All right, I don't think we have too much to do in the introduction. Oh, wait, we do have to mention, if you didn't know from the last episode, we are also on Spotify. That'll be the first link in the description if you're watching on YouTube, or the YouTube link is in the description on Spotify. So check those out whatever your preferred method is of watching these podcasts. And so without that, we will be moving on to the news with our host of the news, Wolf.
Thank you very much for transitioning over to me. We got a pretty light news week outside of the major PlayStation showcase and also the Naughty Dog news. So I guess actually kind of a major news week. I guess the PlayStation showcase that happened on Wednesday. Lot of reactions online. I first wanted to start off. What have you guys thought of the presentation overall? Why don't we bring it over to our resident PlayStation expert, Fusion Rated. What are your initial thoughts on the presentation?
Underwhelmed. I was very underwhelmed. I wish
Okay.
I just wish more first party showed up. That's really all. I didn't hate the show. My initial reactions were way lower. I watched it again a couple times. My bar has raised a little bit, like to a B maybe. When I first left, I was like, this is like a D, but like I don't think it's terrible. We saw a lot of video games I want, but for 2 years of nothing and then almost no first party, I was underwhelmed.
What about you, Dark? How are you feeling about it?
I mean, in terms of a showcase, I think it was fine, but like, I don't think it was anything crazy. Like what people were expecting. People online were expecting like some of the most insane announcements, and I felt if you kept your expectations in check, I felt like it would have been fine.
What about you, Bench? How are you feeling about this?
I thought it was pretty bad and got worse as more news came out throughout the week. And I think going to back last year's state of play, that was a state of play and this was a showcase, and that was extraordinarily better than what we got on Wednesday. I think that was pretty disappointing, and all the live service stuff just sucks.
What about you, Min?
I'm pretty whelmed. I remember we said on the podcast last week I was sitting at like a 8, and I think that only just really knocked down to a 7 because the live service stuff is a lot of but the few games that I am interested in, I'm like, okay, cool. It's nice to see these. It was nice to see gameplay from Spider-Man and other various things, but there's of course a lot wrong with the showcase regarding like no release date for Spider-Man. But we'll get into that when we get into the meat and potatoes of the discussion. But I'll just say whelmed. I'll just say the nice like mid-whelmed for the feeling of overall.
Yeah, I think I share a lot of my sentiments with Fusion. Basically, just feeling disappointed. I don't really think this is the worst showcase in the world. A lot of people were saying that this is a terrible showcase. I think for the what they needed to do as a PlayStation showcase, it did fail in that regard, because the word PlayStation showcase, I expect a lot more than what we got. But in terms of like actual showcase quality, if you just look at it as like purely a showcase, I thought it was actually pretty fine. Like just a basic quality bar for anything in comparison to like what Sony usually does. It's just lacking, in my opinion. I think honestly, if they just shaved off 10 minutes and called it a state of play, it would have been easily one of the best state of plays. It really just comes down to expectations, in my opinion. But we have the list of games right here. I wanted to actually go over them. If you guys don't have much to say about them, we'll just skip over to the next one. But the very first thing that we got on the showcase, Fair Games by Haven Studio. If you don't know Haven Studio, founded by Jade Raymond, creator of Assassin's Creed. Pretty much a CG trailer. I don't know how you guys felt about it. I'm kind of whatever on it. Very much looks like a live service, apparently an extraction shooter similar to Tarkov. How do you guys feel?
Oh, is it more like Tarkov? I thought it was, granted, I didn't look into it at all, but it seemed more Payday-ish than Tarkov. But granted, I don't know anything about Tarkov, so maybe it is.
I'm coming into the showcase honestly not caring about any live service games because I just don't have the time or want to get invested into any of them, which I guess is my problem, but also goes to show that this investment that they're making into live service isn't that good.
Yeah, I think that's just the game in general. It was a weird way to start off the showcase with something like fair games. And just the
And it's
trailer
CG.
itself, I feel, yeah, exactly, fully CG. I didn't really get any understanding of how it is other than capitalism bad, I guess. I don't know. Like it just
I like Watch
Capitalism
Dogs.
bad. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
this weird Watch Dogs Payday like hybrid
It
in
was
like a
definitely
cyberpunk
not the
setting.
vibe. It was not the vibe I was expecting from a Jade Raymond game. Like I
exactly.
don't like
Yeah.
when I went into it, I was not expecting that. And just like everything else in the showcase, it was just CGI galore. So you didn't. From what I got from it, it looks like a 3v3 Payday type like heist game. We'll see if that's what it is when we finally see gameplay in 3 years. But
We didn't even get a date.
Yeah, that's going to be a very common sentiment. Next up on the list, we got Helldivers 2, release date for 2023. I think this is actually one of the highlights of the showcase. I thought the game looked really fun. I did not play the original Helldivers. From what I've seen, this one looks a lot more different, more third-person action. Did any of y'all play Helldivers 1?
Yeah, I can't
No.
say I have.
Never heard of it until recently.
I played very limited. I've played co-op, and it was a fun game, but obviously had a low budget, and it was totally different. It was like bird's eye view, so like this is going full third person over the shoulder. But I'm like Helldiver fans are going to be very excited for this. So like I'm excited for it just because I know how like the baseline of the first game was still quality, even if it was just a low budget game.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, not really much else to say. It was one of the few with gameplay, so that was very nice, and one of our few PlayStation first party studio games. Next
Quick
up, Immortal.
question: do you think
Oh, go
either of
ahead.
these two will be free to play?
Helldivers 2, I don't think so. I think it's
I
going to
don't
be
have
at
it.
most PlayStation Plus game.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to pay for both of these.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeesh.
Next up, we got Immortals of Avium. This was kind of the Magic Doom looking game with cool looking spells, the EA original. One of the few with a hard release date, July 20th, 2023. I thought it looked pretty cool. I don't know how about you guys feel.
I was surprised by it. I'm like, oh shit, EA came out swinging.
I think it
This
looks
was
decent.
honestly one of the better games out in the showcase.
Well, the thing is,
entirely.
though, we saw this game like a month ago and that's the reason why it's one of the few games in this showcase with a hard release date is because they set that release date like last month when they put out their initial reveal trailer. Like this game was revealed and dated like maybe a month or 2 months ago. I can't remember. And I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. It seems like a solid, like 10, 12-hour shooter campaign with magic from EA. And I'm like, okay, this could be cool. And so it's just weird for it to pop up at this showcase because here's PlayStation touting around. It's like, here's this cool third party like partnership we got. It's like, no, bitch, you already this game was showing off like a month ago. You're getting your sloppy seconds right now.
Yeah, no, it's still. I mean, it was a pretty cool looking trailer, all things considered. Next up, Ghost Runner 2, no date. Not much to say there. It was fully CG. I think there was a bit of gameplay. I might be wrong, actually.
There was some gameplay.
Yeah, there was.
They
Did
showed off
anyone else?
like what the main like gimmick I guess is now the motorcycle.
Oh yeah, yeah. Did any of you play Ghost Runner 1? I missed it.
I have not.
No,
I actually
haven't
just
played
beat it last year. I granted I started like early in the year. I delayed it and delayed it, and then I finally beat it like in the last quarter of last year just to finish it. That game made me struggle. Like I am not one of those, as the meme goes, "Do it again" kind of people, because that game
Yeah.
is immediate on the you die restart, you die restart, and I was able to finally beat it. I don't know. I enjoyed it for what it is, but I don't think I enjoyed it enough to be like, okay, let's go for a sequel.
And there was no
Interesting.
date, but they did say this year.
Oh, did they like later on?
Yeah, they said
Oh,
it
I
will be
must have
later
missed
this
that.
year. So yeah.
Oh, that's on me. My bad.
You're good.
Next game on the showcase. It's probably one of my highlights actually. Phantom Blade Zero.
Yeah.
This was the kind of Souls-like looking game. Looks very Chinese historical. I thought this game looked awesome. I've seen a lot of people show some skepticism, mainly towards the developers. The only other games the developers have made being mobile games, but I think just from the gameplay that we got, it looked very strong. No date on it, sadly, but I think overall this was definitely one of the highlights. I don't know about y'all.
Mhm.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
looks
I like the
incredible.
style, and I like everything about it. The gameplay just needs to be good for it to really, I think, stick as one of those kind of games.
Adding on about the gameplay, I'm not sure about you, but it did look off. I don't know how to explain it. Like, it doesn't look like you'd be able
Yeah.
to do what they were showing when
It
the
looked
game
on the
first dropped.
rails.
Like,
I think I saw some interview that stated the developer saying like he wanted to make it look easy, something of that regard, or like be easy to play. I'm not sure how that would work though.
I don't think it
Yeah.
looks like that whatsoever.
Well, because
Also,
I don't know
from
if you're reading about the same article, but he mentioned um, he didn't want it to be button mashy, so they came up and
That's it.
he came up with a way to do all these cool like countering of attacks, but without it becoming button mashy. Which I'm like, this is considered a hack and slash. How is this not button mashy? That is the genre's button mashing.
I think it's more that they didn't want to call it a Souls-like. That's
Yeah.
kind of what they want to call
It's
it.
like, what is the difference between a Souls-like and a hack and slash now? Like, where is that line?
Next game of the docket, we got Sword of the Sea. This was kind of the journey-looking game. No date. I don't think there's really much to say coming off
Yeah,
of
it's
very
another one of
much.
those like tranquil games of like Sable and Journey and all those other just like let's just go wander around for a while and take in the
Yeah.
atmosphere.
Yeah, not my type of thing, but there's definitely going to be fans of it. It did look very pretty. Next is Talos Principle 2. I genuinely forgot about Talos Principle 1. I'll be honest with y'all. I don't know if anyone else played it. 2023 date. Did anyone play Talos Principle 1?
Can't say I
Nope.
have.
no,
I didn't even hear about it till like that showcase. I didn't even know it was a series. So.
Yeah, from what I hear, it's like a puzzle adventure game type deal. I mean, it was a neat looking trailer, but not much else to go off of. Next game was Neva. This was the game that with like kind of the wolf dying thing. I don't know how much else to explain it. It had a very pretty art style, but I don't think there's much else to say about it. 2024 date. Looks neat, I guess. That's going to be a very common thing I said, by the way.
Neat.
Next game, Cat Quest Pirates of the Caribbean. I think the fact that it has a pun in the title makes me never want to touch this game. 2024 date. It did look actually really pretty. I did.
I think
Was
this
a big
game's
I
fan of
thought
the
it
really
art
looked
style.
good, to be honest.
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah, I thought it looked good.
I know people love Cat Quest, so I mean this
Yeah.
this looks cool. I think I'm in. I like the art style. I like what they're doing, but we'll see.
Yeah, I just got to get past that pun in the title. That really bothers me. But
Embrace the pun.
it did look good. I do have to admit. Next game. This was definitely the biggest game of the showcase. Foam
Yeah, for
Stars.
sure.
Boom,
I mean,
stars.
This was Square Enix's Splatoon. I just go off, guys. There's a lot to say about this one.
Hell yeah.
It's gonna die in 3 months. Let's
It
be
better
honest.
be free to play or it's dead on arrival.
It's
Yeah, it's
gonna
gotta be
die.
free to play.
I feel like even if it's free to play, it's gonna die. It just
Yeah.
does not look appealing to me. Like it, I saw someone on Twitter say that like the characters looked AI generated, and honestly, I just fully agree. They
You
just
know, I didn't think
there's
of it
no
until like
personality.
recently, but that main girl that you see in it, she looks like an AI generated version of Iono from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Oh
It's like
my god!
once I saw that, I'm like, I can't unsee it now. I'm like, oh no.
It
But
just lacks. It just lacks personality. Like there's no personality in this game. It's like trailer.
it's just like particle effects, the game.
Exactly. Yeah, it's
I'll
just
still
weird.
play it though on launch when it's launched, just to say I was there for the week that people played it and then they moved on to something else.
Exactly. And also, it's releasing on PS4, which is just hilarious to me.
Gonna hear that PS4 chug.
Next game on the docket, Plucky Squire. This is another highlight for me. 2023 date. This game looks incredible. It was very
Yeah.
much the kind of toy-looking game. You go 2D into 3D. I was a big fan of this trailer. It just sold me on this game even more. I'm totally ready for an actual release date, like hard date. I don't know about y'all.
Yeah, the
I
game
agree.
just continues to impress with pretty much everything it shows. I don't think there's much to say beyond that.
All right. Well, I've
Yeah,
got that.
I've been a fan since that first trailer, so like last year.
Yeah, last summer I'm pretty sure.
Nice. Next is probably the biggest reveal of this showcase. Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. No date.
Next.
Fully. Hey, listen, Moon. Okay, this is my moment. This is very much a CG trailer. They did release gameplay screenshots later today, or later that same day. Looks amazing. I'm extremely excited for this game. I don't know about y'all. How are you guys feeling? As a big Metal Gear fan, this is definitely one of my favorite announcements.
Yeah, judging off the screenshots alone, it is definitely a 1-to-1 remake, and it doing the game justice. This should have been the opener of this showcase, to be honest. We knew this was gonna be here. It should have just gone full throttle with it.
Bench, I know you're always wanted to play those Metal Gear games. Actually, they also announced a collection of the old games, Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 2, and Metal Gear Solid 3, and stated specifically it's Volume 1. So who knows? Maybe in the future we'll finally get that MGS4 port.
Metal Gear 1 and 2.
Metal Gear 1 and 2.
One.
Yeah, great. And pretty fun games, all things considered. I'm a big fan of those games too. How did you feel about this trailer?
Honestly, as a non-Metal Gear fan, I'm excited to finally check the series out. But honestly, like, we've known about it for a very long time, so I can't say I felt much towards it.
Yeah, it's hard to really blame the showcase for that one because, like, leaks happen. It's just hard to really like predict that type of thing. But I do think that if we didn't know about it, it would have been a much bigger pop. I will say I did go crazy when I saw the new Big Boss design. He looks incredible. I'm very, very excited for this game. I love Snake Eater. It's not my favorite Metal Gear Solid, but it's definitely up there for me, like probably in the top 3. Fusion, I know you're also you're not into. You haven't played a Metal Gear game. Are you excited to check out this remake?
Yeah, I am. I'm probably not going to check out the classics just because like too old, but I am excited to jump into this remake and hopefully it sells well enough. I assume it will, that like we get more of them, and that's really just I just want this game to be good enough where I can get more remakes of Metal Gear. So
yeah, I fully agree with that.
I want to segue into something real quick about Konami because it's worth bringing up. You mentioned how they're bringing in the older titles that was announced with the remake. Those titles are just the same versions that were on like Xbox that got delisted, and they're reselling them at probably full price. That's some bullshit, and Konami knows it.
Hey, I mean, they know people will pay. That's the thing. You just can't avoid it. It's annoying, but like they very much know their audience. Metal Gear Solid 1, that's going to be a new port though, which is nice. And also, they are bringing back the original voice cast. They announced that on Twitter. We still don't know the development team, by the way. I don't know why they just didn't reveal that.
You said it was you.
Oh yeah, I'm developing it, by the way, guys.
No, I don't think I swear I read in an article that they said it's a team at Konami with Virtuous. I'm pretty sure, like the dev team, I'm pretty sure it's made of just like in-house, honestly.
I mean, I don't think it's too crazy to say it's in-house. Let's hope it's not the Metal Gear Survive team. That's all I'll say. Because that game was absolute dog shit. Next game.
It's not Bluepoint, that's all we know.
Yeah. Next game on the list, we got Towers of, work with me here, Agaspa? That was kind of the little indie game where you could it looked more like town builder / platforming type deal. There was like those giant whale things. I'm not sure how else to explain it. Not much else to say. 2024 date.
Just another game inspired by Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, pretty much. And then we got another Final Fantasy 16 trailer. In parentheses, I put, please let this be the last trailer, because that's exactly my sentiments. I've seen enough on this game. I'm already been sold. I am fully ready for it to come out next month. It looks incredible. How do you feel, Bench?
I completely agree. While Final Fantasy 16 is, besides Tears of the Kingdom, my most anticipated game of this year and probably going to be my second favorite, I just don't need to see any more, and I really hope they kind of drop a demo soon. I don't know if I'll play it, but it'd be cool to just get some public impressions on everything. But yeah, I've been sold since we saw it last June, even before that, but like that really cemented everything. I don't need to see any more.
Yeah, I'm surprised that demo didn't get shadow dropped. I know you had that as a prediction.
Oh, that was a prediction, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is surprising. I think maybe soon we'll get the demo. It's just weird that they wouldn't shadow drop it for this showcase, or at least announce one.
Yeah.
Did we get any predictions right besides Fusion just saying, "Oh yeah, there's gonna be live service games"?
I don't think we got anything.
I was the only one who had decent expectations for the showcase.
I don't think you said any. Like that wasn't an official prediction though.
I don't think we really got anything, but we were shooting for the stars.
You got a Fusion got Bungie, if I remember correctly.
I did bring up Bungie, but it was more. I aimed for 2 live service games, and it was just both the dev teams were completely wrong. Like I went with London instead of Haven, and I went with Gorilla instead of like Firewalk. Like I just got the dev teams wrong, honestly.
You said Snake Eater, right? Doug, do you have an
Wait, what?
addendum? Did you have an addendum to your Snake Eater prediction? I forget.
No. I just figured it was gonna be there because of all the leaks that happened.
Okay. Next game. This was definitely one of my highlights. Alan Wake 2, October 17th, 2023 date. One of the few like hard dates as well. I thought this trailer was incredible. It very much sold me on the game. We're going to talk more about Alan Wake 2 specifically in relation to the digital only, but for now, I guess like how you guys feel about this trailer because I thought it was phenomenal.
This was my game of the show. Like Remedy is probably in my top 5 dev teams. Like I just love Remedy games and everything they put out. So like the fact that this looks so good, like the gameplay they showed, like it just looks so good. It looks like they're going full horror. Like I'm ready to just jump into this.
Yeah, it looks a lot more inspired by Resident Evil 2 remake, which I mean, I love that game to death. So I am fully ready for Alan Wake to be in that style. I hope they keep the very much the author notes, like the way they handle narration in Alan Wake 1. I thought that was one of the coolest aspects of that game. I hope they keep that for this game. I mean, I'm just genuinely really excited. Anyone else feeling for it?
I never played the
Yeah.
first one. I always heard good things about it. I should probably get to it, but it looked good from what I saw.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah, it
short
looks
game.
good.
It's worth it. Nice.
Yeah, it's not very long, but it is kind of like, I don't want to say repetitive or tedious, but it's just like it's very
repetitive and
one
tedious.
note. It's pretty one note throughout the whole game. Like here's the one thing, and then it never really ramps up from that one thing.
Alan
Mostly
Wake
just
is
get
actually
invested
my
in the
least
story.
favorite. That the first Alan Wake's my least favorite Remedy game, surprisingly. But like you'll hear it has the most cult following out of all the Remedy games. Like you'll hear the game's better than when you actually play it. So
Yeah.
It's one of those.
Yeah, right. Next game, Assassin's Creed Mirage, October 12th date. I will say, as a non-Ubisoft fan, I actually thought this was a pretty good trailer. Fusion, what did you think? I know you're a big Assassin's Creed guy.
I love this trailer. I actually really enjoyed this trailer a lot. I think you could see the stealth elements coming back. And I got some Hitman vibes when they were talking about how you can assassinate the targets in like unique ways and pick your own routes, kinda. Because like as we know, like in the franchise now, there's like none of that. The stealth is basically gone. But the fact that they're going back a little to the roots and it looks like you're going to be able to assassinate targets the way you want to, I think it's going to be super cool. The combat looks smooth. The games always look so pretty. Like Ubisoft always makes really pretty games, so like you don't have to worry about the visuals. But I think it showed well.
That's awesome. Next game, we got Revenant Hill. This is looks like the pseudo sequel to Night in the Woods. No date, not really much else to say there. I don't think any of us were that big on Night in the Woods. Next game up, yeah. Next game up, we got Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, Winter 2023. This was definitely.
To say about this one. Oh, I have some stuff to say about Grand Blue. If you don't.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I'm pretty pumped for it. I'm looking back on some news about the game. It was announced, I think, like 5 years ago, and it's been kind of development hellish. And it's good to see it finally coming out because it looks very good, and I know I'm gonna really dig into and love the game as a JRPG fan.
Yeah, I thought this game looked great. I think it was definitely one of the highlights for me as well. I've always wanted to try Grand Blue Fantasy, but it was a mobile game, so not really into those. But I do think that this is probably going to be my way into the universe. Street Fighter 6 got another trailer. Not much else to say. It's just Street Fighter 6.
A story trailer, yeah.
Yeah. Then we got Ultros. I don't know if you guys remember this one. This was like kind of the 2D Metroidvania, very cool, like rainbow aesthetic to it. I was a big fan of this trailer, but 2024 date, not much else to say, I don't think. What do you guys think of it?
I think it looked really pretty, and they called it a psychedelic Metroidvania, which I thought was funny because it does look like you're just tripping the entire time on that game. So it gave me like Hollow Knight vibes, but way more colorful. So we'll see.
I'm into it. And then we got a Tower of Fantasy. I don't know why this was here. Okay, so I know Tower of Fantasy. It was like a kind of MMO. I think it was a gacha game. Came out last year, if I remember correctly. I should have looked into it. I apologize for that. From what I heard, it was kind of mediocre. At least from like the people I talked to. Apparently, it's releasing for PS5 this summer. They did not say that in the showcase. They just showed a trailer for it. It didn't look appealing at all to me. I don't know about y'all.
I
Truly,
keep
I don't
getting this
remember the
and
games,
Grand
though.
Blue mixed up, so I gotta like go rewatch the trailer to differentiate the two.
Grand Blue was the one that looked good. Next trailer was another one of my favorites in this showcase, Dragon's Dogma 2. I am surprised that we saw this here, I'll be honest, considering the last we saw this game, it was on a t-shirt. This was an amazing trailer. Very much gave a lot of Dungeons and Dragons vibes. I definitely think this was one of the best showcases. Capcom just showing why they're the best in the business at the moment. I don't know about y'all. I think this clearly was one of my favorites.
I completely agree. I've never played Dragon's Dogma, and now I'm like watching very closely to see when the first game goes on sale because I want to play that before this because it just looks so good.
I thought the game looked really good. I was surprised that they didn't have. It could just be because of like early footage, but it doesn't look like the graphic-wise is not as up to date as Devil May Cry 5 was, which was really interesting.
I think it's just probably because it's a early build, but like
I never played the first one, but yeah, I'll probably give this one a shot.
Okay. Cool. Next was a FNAF game, Security Breach 2. I'm just gonna like pretend it didn't exist. That was a PSVR 2 game as well.
I have something to say though.
Okay, go ahead.
Granted, I don't play the games. I just follow the lore that drops because of it, and it's interesting because Help Wanted threw such like a giant wrench in the lore that they're doing a sequel to it, and I don't know. It's kind of crazy. It's both like one of the most important pieces part of the lore and least important. It's such a weird phenomenon of a game to at least the lore wise. So I don't know why they're doing a sequel to this one. They could be doing something else, but whatever.
I feel like they're just kind of like throwing stuff out of the wall. I don't think they care that much about the lore anymore, if I'm being honest.
No,
And then
from a little bit
Go
I
ahead.
do know they are continuing the lore pretty like intently, surprisingly. But it just feels weird having a FNAF game, especially like knowing where it came from at a showcase like this.
It's always at a PlayStation showcase.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
PlayStation and FNAF seem to have like some close ties, or at least the
Uh,
company that is making these console games, the Steel Bull Studios, at least because it Security Breach and Help Wanted are I think have all been made by Steel Wool, and those are the ones
Yeah.
that have been at the showcase. Whereas every other FNAF game that wasn't made by Steel Wool hasn't been at showcases. So I don't know there's some collusion going on there.
And then we got into the PSVR 2 games. I'm just gonna run by these real quick. I don't think any of us on a VR 2. Resident Evil 4 VR mode, just a mode. Arizona Sunshine 2, Crossfire Sierra Squad, Synapse, and Beat Saber Queen Music Pack. It pretty much more VR games than I expected, but also just as much as I thought. I don't know how you guys feel.
Yeah, I think I
I
could
think-
say it about like 5 to 7.
Yeah, I mean, a little more than I expected, but also most of them are, I mean, RE4 and Beat Saber pretty known quantities. So
Exactly. Yeah. Then we got pretty big surprise, all things considered. Marathon by Bungie. No date. I know Fusion. We mentioned this earlier. How you thought Bungie might show up, and we were all kind of saying like, "There's no way in hell that they're ready." Hey, you know what? This is your moment.
Yeah, and I think it's next year. So I think
Wow.
this game does come out next year, and I think this is the Extraction PvP shooter. They have confirmed that. They've confirmed it on Twitter and through their website. The trailer was phenomenal in my opinion. Like the music they picked and just like the entire vibe, I thought it was like perfect. I thought it was maybe the best trailer of the entire show, honestly. And I don't know. I thought they had a chance to show up. They did. It was kind of weird where they showed up. They were just kind of thrown into it. I feel like just randomly, but I'm proud I at least got a little bit of credit for them showing up.
To be honest, that's what the entire showcase felt like. It felt like it's just games randomly thrown together with no
Yeah,
like
I don't think
thought process behind it.
I don't think the pacing, like you start with the PlayStation logo and then it's Haven, like showing the live service game off the rip, and then just after that, it's just the pacing felt so off.
Exactly. My thoughts as well. I thought the trailer looked pretty cool. But no date is kind of disappointing. Then we got like a 2-second Destiny 2 teaser, basically revealing that Cade 6, I think his name is Cade 6, right? Fusion?
Yeah, it is.
You played Destiny. Yeah, okay. Cade 6, he's coming back. I don't know how. I don't know anything about Destiny. This is on y'all.
The first thing that came to mind is probably not because it doesn't line up. the voice actor for Zavala did die, and he was the Titan Vanguard in Destiny. He was like a prominent character, so with him gone now, it does make sense that they would try to bring somebody else back to kind of like fill that void. But I'm not sure. They probably were working on this long before that happened, obviously. So yeah.
Okay.
Somehow, Kate 6 has returned.
Oh god. The next game we got here, Concord, Firewalk's new game, 2024 date, fully CG trailer. I got nothing from this trailer.
hated
Yeah, it was
that
like
is
literally
a
just a ship taking
massive
off, right?
disappointment. We got literally nothing out of it. We saw a sandwich. That was something. But
Sandwich.
I don't know why they showed this at this point. Like, you give me no showcase of even what the game would feel like. You just showed us shit.
It's the fact that trailer, the 10-second trailer, got a 2024 date, and then like the Haven trailer, which showed way more, didn't give us anything, or like the Marathon
Exactly.
trailer didn't give us anything. It was the fact that they were like, here's this 13-second clip of this ship that was basically, it looked a lot like that one Starfield trailer where they like went through the ship and they showed the sandwich and all that. It almost looked exactly like that, and then they were just like 2024, you have no idea what it is, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's always that thing we criticized Xbox for just showing off like CG trailers, no dates, like no expectation of what's going on. But like, I think we should also share that energy when Sony does the exact same thing.
Yeah.
It's just a frustrating thing. Like, why you? Yes, they gave a date. That's cool. I don't know what this game is. Why am I excited for
first-person
it?
shooter. It's a
Yeah, that's all
sci-fi
I got.
first-person shooter, but that's all we know. Like, because I read up on it after, but that's all we know. It's a PvP FPS.
Yeah, man,
So-
like that
Add another one to the
explains so
pile.
many things. Yeah.
But on the thing, other than the Bungie Marathon, I think Haven will be third person personally, and then you have Helldivers 2, which is third person. So like, we all know PlayStation is missing first-person video games. So like, it's not the worst thing that Concord is coming out and being this. It's just like, give us something, not just this trailer that
Exactly.
makes no sense to like anything. Like, you're not even giving us world lore. You're just showing us like a spaceship. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I for sure that's on. Then we got to what might be my Joker moment, everyone. A fucking movie trailer. We got
What
a
did I
movie
say
trailer.
during our predictions? I said there was going to be a trailer because there was going to be PlayStation all about that fucking synergy right now. Granted, I did get it wrong. I thought they would do Twisted Metal, but granted, Twisted Metal was nowhere to be found here. But no, here's the Gran Turismo movie trailer that we've seen in a million times in theaters. Here's the other thing. Here's the thing that gets me that I didn't think about till like maybe the other day. It would have been okay, like passable, like fine, whatever, if it was like an exclusive new trailer or new look. But no, it's the exact same trailer we've seen already for months now.
We
Yeah.
got nothing from it. This makes no fucking sense. It is a video game showcase, the PlayStation showcase. You show a fucking movie trailer? What is wrong with you? You don't
Yeah.
show a movie trailer at a video game showcase. This was the moment where I genuinely wanted to turn off the stream. I was so angry at that moment, man.
Yeah, this was so late in the showcase too.
this was the moment where like I was like, maybe Dark's right, because like it was just the fact that also they ended with this other than Spider-Man. This was the last
Like,
trailer
why?
we got before Spider-Man.
That was like our
Go
biggest slap
see
in the
Gran
face,
Turismo,
but I thought it
everybody.
was hilarious.
I
Yeah,
was
this
laughing
was-
the whole time.
I was
just-
laughing and also angry.
Yeah, showing a movie trailer just shows they got all their priorities wrong for what they wanted this
Exactly.
to be.
Oh, I should have like made
It's
a
like-
clip out of me saying like there's gonna be a trailer, and then you
should've.
just freaking out like no.
Because you see that trailer, and the next face you see is Jim Ryan. And you're like, there's no way. How is
Swear
it
in
over?
hell.
Like, how is
I
it
see it.
over already?
Movies and
His
Jim
face.
Ryan. Movies and Jim Ryan, my two least favorite things. Okay, next. Jim Ryan comes back. He shows his beautiful mug, and he shows the PSQ handheld, 2023 date. And according to this Push Square article written by Sammy Barker, it looks like it is allegedly going to have 3 to 4 hours of battery life, according to an Insider Gaming report penned by Tom Henderson. I don't know about y'all. I think this thing looks kind of goofy.
It
It
better
is
not be any more than $200, and even that's a stretch because this just is stupid.
It looks like it can break easily. That's
Yeah.
like from the images.
really.
Like, it
I
looks
mean,
like
I don't
can
mind how
accidentally
it
bend
looks.
and it'll snap.
But it's like the 4-hour battery life and the fact that it's a streaming device. Just like no, thank you, no.
I just can't. I can't imagine wanting to get into this. And then they also showed off earbuds, so that's something.
Raycons. This
I don't
showcase
know.
brought to you by Raycon.
Oh,
I don't
God.
know if it was just me, but I kind of thought maybe they would show the rumored PS5 Pro because they were doing hardware, and I know that's been
Nah.
rumored.
Oh, see, that was your
I
first
guess
problem,
they-
Ben, is you had expectations.
Yeah,
I don't
guess.
know, man.
I mean,
And
you're
then
showing hardware, so
the last thing they showed off, the Spider-Man 2 trailer. I thought this looked amazing.
Yep.
This is definitely my most anticipated game at the moment. I think they absolutely knocked this trailer out of the park. I love the idea of like that Venom Peter, Yuri Lowenthal doing a great job with that Venom voice. I don't know about y'all. How did you think?
Yeah, I don't know about your Lorenthal's like angry voice. It doesn't really sound that angry. Granted, it is still in line with like. Have you ever seen clips of the old Spider-Man cartoon from the '90s during their Venom
Oh,
arc?
dude, I love that show.
It was like his angry Venom voice is pretty much what Yuri is mimicking here. It's both non-threatening and hilarious at the same time.
Yeah,
even
that's
If I
with,
wasn't
exactly what I
sick,
want.
I'd give you an example.
I think the most impressive thing is you're seeing him be more ruthless in combat, not like pulling punches. You're just like
Yeah,
seeing
because
him
that's
decimate.
Venom being all
Yeah,
being
yeah, it looks
very
great.
violent.
I mean,
So I don't know if you guys ever played it, but Web of Shadows, Spider-Man Web of Shadows, is an old game, but it also the Venom combat very similarly to this. I feel like they're taking a lot of inspiration from that game. If you haven't played
Yeah.
it, I highly recommend it.
I
yeah,
wanted to
no,
play
that's
that
on the
trilogy
list.
like a long time ago, but I just never got around to it.
Other than that, the trailer looked good. I do have a nitpick with the symbiote suit.
Here we go. He's been complaining
It
about
looks
this all week.
ugly. It looks so ugly. It
That's
looks
the
padded.
point.
No, it's not. It's not supposed to look like armor. It's supposed to look fleshy. It's supposed to look alien. It looks weird. I get that they did their own design, and I respect them for that. It is an ugly design. You're not cooking me with it.
I don't know, man. I think it looks fine. I don't
Here's-
know about y'all.
Here's my thing: is like the camera is so far pulled away from Spider-Man, and he's just gonna be flipping and running around. You're not gonna be able to tell when he's moving around that he's all armory. You're only gonna see it in like
I can tell.
cutscenes.
I don't know. I have a weird eye for this stuff, and I noticed it right away. It looks weird to
Yeah,
me.
we can tell.
Pre-order canceled.
Order
Uh,
canceled. Venom has armor.
Exactly.
Venom has
and
shoulder
then,
pads.
but yeah, that's the showcase. They ended on a known quantity. I don't know about y'all. Final thoughts and rating out of 10. I guess I'll go first. This was a disappointment. I wanted to come into this showcase. I was very highly expecting it because they've shown us in the past that PlayStation Showcase is a big word. It is a big deal. And now they've kind of tainted that name. Bench actually said something very similar to how Blizzard, in relation to the Overwatch 2 PvE cancellation, how it is not good for the brand to do something like that. And this is a situation where it is not good for the PlayStation Showcase brand to have a show this middling. You should have cut 10 minutes and just called it a state of play. It would have been understandable. Obviously, we would have been angry that there would have been people angry about, oh, there's no PlayStation Showcase still. You know, like, how are we still don't have it? Who cares? Your games aren't ready. Just wait. Like, it doesn't matter because we would rather have a better showcase than whatever this was. Even then, I don't think it was garbage. I think it was like a 6 out of 10. That's pretty much how I feel. How about you, Bench? What do you feel?
I'd give it a 5 out of 10. I think it really shows PlayStation in an awful light. I think with the live service games and the CG trailers, no gameplay, it just really tarnishes the PlayStation Showcase brand. Even thinking, like I said before, the state of play last June was way better than this in pretty much every way. So I think this really just dumps on a PlayStation Showcase because obviously it feels like they thought they needed to have one instead of needing to have one, if that makes
Exactly.
any sense.
Yeah, I agree.
So
What about you, Moon? How do you feel?
Pretty much the same. Like we're in that 6-7 range. Like there are some things I'm interested in here, but as we all said, it's what people complained about Xbox a couple of years ago. It's all CGI trailers, no gameplay, and some loose release dates. Like how many of these games here actually had release dates? And then one of them doesn't even count. That Immortals game already had a set release date. That was not new information. But like Ben said, this feels like they kind of got into their head. Well, it's been 600 days since the last showcase. We need to show off Spider-Man. People are waiting for Spider-Man. Okay, let's justify a reason to do a showcase. So they went to all their third party because this was like what 80% third party stuff and said, "Hey, we're putting together a showcase because we want to show off Spider-Man. can you give us anything to show off? And then they scrounge this up together. That kind of brings up the pacing issue because they literally just clumped together what they had. And then the funny part of it is that they most likely did this whole thing just for Spider-Man, and then Spider-Man doesn't even have a release date.
Yeah, no, that's I pretty much fully agree with all your sentiments there. Fusion, what about you?
Yeah, I'm not gonna go on a long rant, but I do have a rant. I'll say I'm more optimistic than most people. So I'd say when it first ended, I was like, okay, this showcase was really bad. Like that was my initial thoughts. I was at like a 4 or 5. I watched it a couple times. I'm sitting at like a 7. But my thing is, I was curious, so I looked up that September 2021 showcase because people are always like, "That's the pinnacle." Like, go back to that. I was like, and I remember it being really good. But I looked back on it. They showed 17 games in that showcase. 3 of them had gameplay.
Wow.
Spider-Man 2 was CGI. Wolverine 2 was CGI. Gran Turismo 7 was one of the only gameplays, and God of War Ragnarok was gameplay. There was only 4 first parties in that 2021 showcase. I remember there being way more, but there was only 4. And then it's like the third party was Blood Hunt, Alan Wake Remastered, GTA 5 Next Gen, Rainbow Six Siege Extraction, Tiny Tina. I'm thinking about like when you think about that showcase where people were like, "This is the best showcase PlayStation has ever done since like the E3 2015." Is it just because God of War Ragnarok and Wolverine 2 showed up? Like
I
we
mean,
got a
that's it.
15-second Wolverine 2 trailer. Like if you put them side by side, this showcase, there's no excuse for what they put out, but you still got more pure video games out of this showcase than you did 2 years ago. Which is just it's kind of funny to me where I'm looking back and I'm like, everyone was just so I think it was the expectations. Like if we had no
Mhm.
expectations and it wasn't 600 days, people would have been like, okay, this was like a 8 out of 10 showcase, and we would have walked on with our day. We would have been excited for Alan Wake 2, for Mirage. We would have been excited for these things. But it was just the fact that it's been so long and no first parties showed up other than your live service stuff. And Insomniac, which we knew was going to be there, you ended on what we knew was going to be there. Your one last thing shouldn't be the game we all know is going to be here, and then you don't even give a release date after we've seen fall 2023. I feel like 4 times at this point on my TV screen. I've had to see that same logo. It was still okay, but I thought it was kind of cool, like looking back at that September showcase and seeing like it had heavy hitters, but that show was like even KOTOR was there. I know that was a big one, but that was a CGI 15-second trailer. We know how that game's going. Like it's weird to see that was the top of what people thought of the last 2 years, and then looking back, it was like that showcase wasn't even that great. It just feels so great, and we're comparing this showcase to that one, and when you put it on paper, I think it's closer than we actually think.
I think it has something to do with the fact it is that long wait between showcases that definitely put a lot of anticipation on there. People's expectations obviously ran wild, but also the fact I think just a lot of people in general, especially the hardcore Sony crowd, are not very big into live service games, and now they're obviously trying to throw all these live service games at us, and I don't think that's getting really well received, at least by a lot of the hardcore Sony crowd. But I do want to mention though, I never felt that whole long wait between showcases. Like you guys are saying, there's like this wait to the name PlayStation Showcase compared to a state of play. I never got that feeling. Honestly, this just feels like a longer state of play, even if it wasn't, half mediocre in terms of reveals. Like, so between state of play and the showcase, I feel no difference. Like it's just Sony announcing stuff to me. So I never felt that like long wait. It's like, oh, this is the showcase. This is gonna be the premium shit. Unlike the garbage state of play. So I don't know. That's just me though. But it seems like you guys have the different mindset of like, oh no, the showcase name carries weight.
Also, I think
Uh,
that we don't have a big roadmap of what's after this year for PS5, and that was a big expectation going into the showcase. Is we're
Agreed.
going to get what's going to happen in the next year or two for the PS5, and honestly, we don't really know much.
Dark, what about you? Final thoughts and ratings?
Moon said a lot of what I was gonna say. I don't really think like PlayStation showcases hold any weight personally, and just like going for it, this thing people need to tamper expectations with Sony. Like that's literally all it comes down to. Like leading up to this, you were seeing people's prediction, and you were seeing some of the most insane takes I've ever seen. Like stuff like GTA 6 is gonna be exclusive and all types of stuff. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. If you go on a floor expectations, you won't be as disappointed in the end. Or you might even be like surprised by what's there. That's pretty much all
Rate-
it is.
Rating out of 10.
6, 7.
Okay. But that's pretty much it in relation to the PlayStation Showcase. Overall, disappointing, but hopefully they can bring it back. Actually, we have another big Sony negative story. Last of Us Factions development troubles. This was broke today. Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg has the scoop. Sony Group Corp has slowed down development on an upcoming multiplayer game in its long-running The Last of Us video game series as the creators reassess its quality and long-term viability, according to 4 people familiar with the project. Sony has invested heavily in games as a service or video games designed to be monetized beyond their initial sales through ongoing purchases. As part of that push, it asked another of its video game studios, Seattle-based Bungie, to evaluate the games across its portfolio. Bungie raised questions about The Last of Us multiplayer product's abilities to keep player engaged for a long period of time, which led to reassessment. I highly recommend reading through the whole article. It's pretty short. It basically goes over how. Actually, there's a more important paragraph here. The team working on the game was scaled back after a recent evaluation, said the people, who asked not to be named because they weren't authorized to speak publicly. A small group remains on the project while the company reevaluates the direction. While the game has not yet been canceled, many of its developers have moved on to other projects. Basically, sentiments that this game is not going the way that Naughty Dog thought it would go, that Sony thought it would go, and that it's effectively going through a bit of a big restructuring at the moment, and that Bungie looked at the game, said that they can't really see a future for this game to the same way as like a Destiny, and they really took that to heart. Naughty Dog actually responded to this article on Twitter. The Last of Us fans, we know many of you have been looking forward to hearing more about our Last of Us multiplayer games. We're incredibly proud of the job our studio has done thus far, but as development has continued, we've realized what is best for the game is to give it more time. Our team will continue to work on the project as well as other games in development, including a brand new single-player experience. We look forward to sharing more soon. This news obviously broke today. I don't know how you guys have been sitting with it. How about you go, Bench?
I did want to go first, so thanks for calling on me. But I think,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I think they should cut their losses to cancel the game. I think this was announced 3 years ago when The Last of Us 2 was coming out. I think it's been 3 years, and obviously Naughty Dog might not be equipped to handle a live service game. And I think if they cut their losses and just moved on to bigger and better things, it would amount to much more than what this could amount to if it becomes a live service game and either success or dies quickly. I just don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, what about you, Fusion? I know you're the big Last of Us fan.
Yeah, I'm actually on the total opposite. It's going to be a very hot take, but I think a year from now, these articles won't matter. I think the talent at Naughty Dog, and maybe I'm just a super fanboy, but the talent they just genuinely haven't made a bad video game. Like they're just so good at what they do, and like I think we've seen Bungie is helping them in some form with Bungie's talent and their talent. They've been working on it way too long to just throw it away. I get people want them to just move on and like make The Last of Us Part 3 or bring back Uncharted or start a new IP. They can still do that alongside, like you said, they put less people on the project now. So like it's at least in a good enough spot where they can, I assume, where they don't have to cancel it. And I think a year from now we're gonna see this game, it's gonna look good and all of this won't matter. It's just gonna be like this feels like a lot of what live services games go through anyways, but it doesn't reach the light of day because it's not a premier studio. This is Naughty Dog we're talking about. So once you're getting into like, oh no, Naughty Dog's having trouble working on a live service game, it's going to be a big deal compared to the hundreds of live service games that go through this exact same process before that game launches. So I think the game's going to be fine. I could be eating my words and they get canceled in the next few months, but I just don't. The team I see at Naughty Dog and what they've done with their IPs and their video games and how important Last of Us as a franchise is to them and their like brand, I just don't see any way where they cancel this game.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with the sentiment of it being canceled. Like they've gone this far into development, it just feels like a strange step because it has assumed that they've been working on this multiplayer mode even since Last of Us 2 was first revealed, like even started development. So to cancel it this far into development, like I assume there is something there. I don't know. How about you, Moon? What do you feel?
I don't know if I want to see it canceled because, like I made the joke last week, like I still believe Factions is a myth. It's like we have seen literally nothing. But so I do want to see it released, but I will not be surprised if 6 months down the road they'd be like, "Yeah, we're gonna be shutting the servers down in another 6 months." Like, thanks for playing. I just think the most fascinating part of this story is the whole people from Bungie came in and took a look at it and went, we don't know about this. Like, I'm just trying to imagine being in the studio that day. It's like, oh yeah, Sony bought Bungie, these Bungie people who know their shit about Destiny and all that, and that very successful live service game is gonna come in and judge in our game. And I'm like, oh wow. I was like, oh, and then they're like, yeah, we're not so sure about this. I was like, that is just fascinating to think about that they
From what
did
I-
something like that.
from what I read of the article, it seems more so that they were evaluating its long-term success. At least
Yeah.
from I don't think they were saying like the game itself looked bad. I think I do trust the gameplay is going to be good. I love the gameplay in Last of Us 2. But I just I think it very much seems like how is this going to be like a scalable live service game? You know, this is Naughty Dog's first live service game. Are
Yeah, like
they capable of handling it?
how do you keep people coming back? Stuff like that. Like, what is your long plan, pretty much? And then maybe because Naughty Dog, the way they are, they didn't really think about that kind of stuff. They're just focusing on the actual game itself. Where because they're a single player studio, they're used to making games where it's like, here's your package, and then they're like, what do you mean we have to plan stuff that's like 6 months down the line?
Yeah, Dark. What about you? What do you think?
I don't have much to say about it. This felt like something that wasn't gonna come out anytime soon, and it's just proven itself right. That's about it.
A lot of victory laps for you, buddy. I'm excited. Jeff, I actually I saw this tweet from Jeff Grubb. I found it pretty interesting in relation to the factions update. All I've heard of the game is that it looks like that it looks a lot like a studio's first live service game, and that Naughty Dog wanted to do things its way, which maybe didn't bode well for factions. And honestly, I pretty much fully understand that sentiment. And also, I had this other tweet from Blessing Adeoye Jr., kind of funny. I've had a whole rant brewing in my mind the last few days about PlayStation's multiplayer strategy. This just seals my feelings on it. Went from optimistic to, oh no, not like this in 1 week. And I pretty much fully agree with Blessing's sentiments. This live service strategy is very much threatening. Not threatening, I don't want to say that, but like it's scary for PlayStation fans, you know, who are so used to those single player, big budget games, and then they shift completely to this live service strategy. It just feels like they weren't equipped to shift into it. I don't know how you guys feel.
Foam
I
Stars
feel
day
like
one.
I don't feel like Naughty Dog, well, they're great at making high fidelity, very good single player experiences. I think multiplayer is just a completely different ball game, and maybe they just weren't equipped to do it.
I agree
Yeah.
to an extent, but like Uncharted has great multiplayer.
Agreed.
Last of
I
Us
love
Part
that
One
shit.
has like the Last of Us has great multiplayer. It's not no like I think they're good at multiplayer. The live service is what's tripping them up. It's the how do we
100%.
make profits after this is in your hands. I feel like they know how to make a shooter multiplayer game because we've seen it in the past, and all of their multiplayers have always been like well received. It's the Bungie probably came in and was like, how do you plan on profiting and marketing this game a year after release? And Naughty Dog was probably like, we don't know. Because like they said they're gonna tie it into the Last of Us universe so much where it's like you have to worry about balancing this game with Last of Us Part 3 that's gonna happen and how you get all these stories like connected and not mixed up and for it to make sense. And I feel like that's in the back of the dev teams and Neil Druckmann's mind. So in my opinion, I don't think there's any issue with the gameplay or how the game's gonna work. I think it's more of like, is this game gonna be able to make us profit 6 months down the line? And Naughty Dog probably didn't have those answers.
Yeah, I pretty much fully agree with your sentiment there. Benji Sales over on Twitter actually posted something really interesting. Apparently, over 60% of PlayStation investment is going into live service by fiscal year 2025. That's 60 to 40. That is pretty much why a lot of PlayStation fans are scared of this live service push. And I mean, honestly, I hope it works out well. It just feels like they're ill-equipped to really
Well, here's
shift into
something
it.
as like an addendum to that is that he also added, it's not they're taking away from other locations. They're literally just adding the 60% worth on top of what they're already doing. They're not taking the 60% from other categories. They're just adding this on. So they're basically what they're doing is just throwing a shit ton of money on top of what they're already doing to make all these other live service games.
I'm
The
surprised they have
strategy
that
is
much money.
obviously the strategy is obviously make a ton of them and see what sticks.
See what
It's
sticks.
not
Yep.
not all of them. 1 or 2 maybe out of like the 10 that they plan, and that's just not going to end well because you're going
And
to put
it's
all these developers for like 3 or 4 years working on these live service games, and they're just going to bomb.
and it's very obvious where you've seen the recent acquisitions of Haven, of Firewalk. They're all like live service acquisitions because Sony in-house didn't have these type of studios. The Sony in-house studios have always been high budget single player games. And Jim Ryan and Herman Hulse probably looked around and they're like, we need studios that can at least just be full live service for us. So we don't have to worry about Santa Monica, Guerrilla Games, all these prestige studios working on multiplayer games. So that's why all these acquisitions have been so live service focused. I'm pretty sure it was Greg Miller on Twitter from Kind of Funny. He talked about how it's not even just how hard it is to create a live service game in this competition. Now think about all the PlayStation live service games fighting each other. Factions is fighting the Haven game, Haven's fighting the Firewalk game, Firewalk's fighting the Bungie game, even though it's multi-plat. You're having so many live service games under one umbrella now. All your players have to decide what's good and what's bad. They can't all be successful. There's not enough humans to play your games.
Yeah, so not only are you throwing everything at the wall and hoping it sticks, you're hoping it sticks along with everything. It's sticking against the wall against other things that you're also throwing at the wall. It's like there's
Yeah.
only so much wall.
Yeah, I wish all the best for the development team. I hope the game's good. Moving on to our final big news story of the week. Alan Wake 2, as I alluded to earlier, it will be a digital-only release. This actually comes from a FAQ that Remedy hosted. Why is Alan Wake 2 a digital-only release? There are many reasons for this. For one, a large number of have shifted. Okay, that's a typo. Wow. A large number have shifted to digital only. You can buy a Sony PlayStation 5 without a disc drive, and Microsoft's Xbox Series S is a digital only console. It is not uncommon to release modern games as digital only. Secondly, not releasing a disc helps keep the price of a game at $59.99 and the PC version at $49.99 US. So there's a lot of takes on this. I have a lot to say about this, more specifically towards the people supporting this type of thing. But hey, you know what? I'll go on my rant later. Bench, I know you're a fully digital future type guy. How do you feel about this?
Well, I kind of mean about it. I am fully digital on all my consoles, and I will say less options is better, but I think this is going to be a regular thing going forward for maybe
less
not
options
first
is better?
parties. I'm saying it's gonna. I'm not supporting it. I'm just saying it's gonna be a thing, especially for third parties
Oh, okay. You just
that
misspoke.
don't.
That's why. Right.
Yeah, just I think third parties are gonna see the success and not printing discs because so many people are digital and just cost saving measures and not having to print discs and do all that production and shipping and deal with stores. I just think it's honestly, objectively, it is more profitable for them. And I think that's the route we're going to see. And this is just the first domino to fall in that.
Yeah. So, Moon, how about you? How do you feel?
To state my stance, I'm pretty 50-50, literally. Just whatever is more convenient for me at the time. Like, if it's a game like Final Fantasy 16 that I'm buying this day one and I'm playing it and it's a franchise or a big game that I like, I want to get it physically. But I have no problem getting a game digitally. Grant, I don't think I've bought a full $60, $70 AAA game digitally yet. I don't think I've done that. I don't think so. At least not that one wasn't on a big sale. I've mostly bought like the AA games, the indie games, and old AAA games that have severely got down in price. I don't see that stopping anytime soon until literally everyone abandons physical media. I like that. Not so much the collecting because, as I've said to this group many times, I don't really care about physical so much in the keepsake. I don't know what it is. It's kind of funny. You would think I would be all digital because I have no attachment to keeping a lot of these games physically around, as I just turn them into GameStop or whatever. So I don't think I'm for them, but I get their reasoning. It's I don't like it, but I get it. And I think that's just kind of what I'll leave it at that before I rant on anymore. Was there something else I was going to say? Don't think so.
I
But
have a lot to say.
funny thing is, I was debating, am I going to get Assassin's Creed or Alan Wake 2 around that time period of early October? And this kind of just settled that for me. It's okay, I guess I'll get Assassin's Creed because I'll just wait for Alan Wake to go on sale because it's bound to go on sale quickly as a pure digital only game.
So here's my viewpoint on the situation, if I may rant. I actually fully support Remedy's decision here. I think the idea of it being a cheaper game, like instead of being a $60 game on consoles, it will be, or instead of being a $70 game on consoles, it will be $60. They've shown that they can do that price cutting measure. That is really nice. I don't think every company is going to do that. I think they'll just charge the full 70 no matter what, even if it's digital, even though they're not doing disc production. But so it's really nice to actually see Remedy at least do it in that regard. My thing is, I fully accept that a digital future is coming. And I am a physical collector, I should state. I love physical games. I have a massive game collection. I am a big fan of the medium. But I fully accept that digital is coming. It is the way. It's the same way that's happened to movies. Movies became digital, and like very rarely, like you will see Blu-rays and whatnot, but they're not the main source of media the same way that games are still, in some way, still have that physical share. I just don't really understand the people celebrating it and being excited about a digital future. Because at the end of the day, Bench stated this earlier, it's less options. And I don't know why we're excited about having less options in this medium, because that means that they can charge us more if they want, and we can't really do much about it. We can't trade our games in. There's a lot of benefits, especially in relation to DRM. If you're not connected to the internet, there's some consoles that just don't let you play your games, even if you own them digitally. And it's just it's a weird thing to be excited about this idea that we're having less options. I totally support people that want to play all games digitally. I think that's totally fine. But to be excited and like celebrating the idea that all games will be digital in the future just feels weird to me, because we are getting less options now. I don't know how do you feel, Dark?
He basically took everything I was gonna say. Yeah, I don't think less options is ever better. There's some people who don't have access to the internet and stuff like that, and they need these physical games. And what about them? I mean, sure, it's cool that it is digital only, I guess, and they're trying something out. I just don't think this is a good direction to be heading in personally.
I 100% agree. What about you, Fusion? You got anything?
Yeah, as someone who loves physical games, it's just this is not a win for any consumer, digital or physical. This is not having less options is never a win. And a little pushback on you, Moon, when you're talking about you'll wait for a sale because digital, it actually gives them a reason to not put it on sale. Because when you put your game physical, Target, Walmart, Best Buy, GameStop, you have so many different locations that can just do their own sales, where it's like you have pushback from, like, GameStop might push their game to $40 one week, and then Walmart will match, or Best Buy will match, stuff like that. When you're digital and only on the Epic Store, the PlayStation Store, and the Xbox Store, you have to worry about no one. All you have to do is sit there on that storefront and be like, okay, we can leave this up. It's why when you look at digital games like Call of Duty, for example, and Activision, Black Ops 2, a 10-year-old game, still $60 digitally. You can walk into a GameStop and buy that game for $5 physically, because it's just on the digital storefronts, you have no competition but yourself, so you don't have to worry about it. And people see the like how casual it is to just log onto your Xbox and be like, oh, this game's $60, but I don't have to leave my house and I don't have to go to the store. I'll just buy it. Even if it's 5 years old, it should be like half off. And if you just walk to Target, it would be half off. So like, I don't see any way where this is ever a plus in gaming. And I think at some point Alan Wake 2 will have a physical edition, if it's through THQ Nordic, or even if Remedy goes back on this. I think there's going to be enough pushback where Remedy looks at this and they're going to be like, okay, maybe fully digital isn't the idea. Even if they're saying, okay, we'll release physical, but the physicals are $70. I would rather have the option of physical being $70 and the digital being $60. At least I still have a choice.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see if a company ever does fully embrace that of like, okay, we're going to do a physical release, but it has to be 70 because we have to cost for shelf space in the store and the boxes and all that, and shipping and handling. But the digital version will be 60. Like, it'll be interesting to see what big game is like the first to do that, which I don't think anyone's done that yet. This is the first like big. I don't know if we want to call Alan Wake AAA. Do we call it Alan Wake AAA?
Oh, it definitely is.
Yeah.
Remedy,
Yeah.
AAA.
So this is like the first big like digital only AAA released that's doing this. So it'd be interesting to see, like, does this pioneer other things? Like, what sprouts from this? Because you got to be seeing this information from Alan Wake. There's some executive at some other company now bringing it up to their boss, like, hey, what about this?
Yeah, one
Yeah.
last thing is it's also just the consoles, the PlayStation and Xbox themselves have a very bad refund policy with your
Oh my
digital
God,
video
yes.
games. And it's like, at least when you buy a physical game and you don't like it, you can get a refund immediately, most of the time. And it's like, even if it's not the full amount, you're still getting money back. On the Xbox and PlayStation, you got to go through so many loops if you don't like the game, or like if you like we don't have the luxury of being a PC gamer on Steam and playing for less than 2 hours and getting a full refund. Like the console marketplace just doesn't have that yet. So it's like you got to put in refunds, where like at least with physical games, or you can sell it to another player, like someone looking for that game for maybe $10 less. Like you can just do so much with physical media that you can't do with digital, that it just doesn't make sense, in my opinion. I know their reasonings, and their reasonings are like, it makes sense on the corporate side, but as a consumer, it makes zero sense.
Yeah, I pretty much fully agree with all your sentiments there, Fusion. And it also, you mentioned the THQ. If I remember, THQ actually tweeted under them, basically kind of hinting at the idea of maybe a partnership in the future to release a physical version. I wouldn't read too much into it. It was just a corporate Twitter account, basically just
Yeah, it'd be interesting
saying
to
little
see if
things.
they do like a physical later where they don't have to print as much, because like the big hype of the initial launch is gone, and the people who buy digital have already bought it. It's like, okay, now we're gonna make like a supply of the half of what we usually would do. It's like just for those physical people out there.
Yeah, that could. It's like the remastered got a physical. Like they just made Alan Wake in 2021 when they released the remaster. That game has a physical, and it was like $30. You know what I mean? So like, why? I don't know. It's like you put Alan Wake remastered and made it physical. You went out of your way to be like, okay, we're gonna make this game physical. I don't understand why now all of a sudden you're just like, we're gonna try
Well,
this
there is
out.
a point that they also point out that Wolf didn't bring up, was another reason why, along with like the shipping and the creation of the box and all that, is that so much of the game would have to be downloaded anyway. So they said, just screw it. Like, why are you putting like 1/10 of our game on on the disc, and you got to download the other 9/10 of the game? So they said, screw it, screw the disc. Let's just make it all digital, because they don't want the full game, like a 1/4, 1/10 of the game on the disc, and the rest you still have to download. It's like, might as well just download the whole thing. I mean, we saw
Yeah,
what happened with Jedi Survivor. Like, there was barely any of the game on the disc. It was all
mhm.
digital. Like, you all had to download that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did forget to mention that, so I'm glad you brought that up. I'm still new to this, boys. But that's it for all the big new topics of the week. We do have some small topics I wanted to go over real quick. First one, Lord of the Rings Gollum is the worst reviewed game of 2023 so far.
Woohoo!
Written by Tom Ivan at VGC, basically just going over how this is the lowest rated game of the year. In comparison, the PC version currently sits at number 295 with a Metascore of 43, one place behind Clive and Wrench, which has a Metascore of 50. So that is the competition Gollum is currently sitting with. And also in terms of like kind of AAA games, if you do want to call this game AAA, the second lowest rated would be Crime Boss Rock Case City. That's arguable whether it's AAA or not. I'll be honest. And last year's biggest AAA blunder was Crossfire X, that is sitting at a 38 on Metacritic. So very similar. I don't think none of us were really that excited for Gollum. I don't think so. This wasn't depressing, right?
No. Who was
No,
the
not
dev
really.
team? Do you know who the dev team was?
Man, I will
It
search
starts
that up
with
real
it.
quick.
Starts with a D.
You guys go ahead and talk. I'm gonna look that up.
Okay.
Yeah, the
I
only
don't know
thing,
who the dev team was.
it's like, I think we were all expecting it to just not be a very interesting game. We didn't expect it to be a technical mess, because that's like the
Daedalic
big thing.
Entertainment.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it also came
Apparently
out
they're
today that they're also, working on another Lord of the Rings game. They've already started on another
Which-
game.
Wow, that is something. I think there's a lot to say about the game, but like I feel like a lot of the reviewers out there, I recommend watching Skillup review. I think he does an amazing job of breaking down just how awful that game truly is. But yeah, there's not really much else to say other than the game is dog shit. Another more interesting news story. Did someone want to say something else about Gollum?
No.
Okay, cool. We got the Embracer Group $2 billion deal is done for. This comes from Steven Totillo over on Twitter. Brutal turn of events for Embracer Group, Tomb Raider, Lord of the Rings, Dead Island. $2 billion deal up in smoke. Stock down over 40%. Web Q&A with Embracer CEO is rough. The man seems shattered. No indication of who the deal could have been with. Obviously, we've seen a lot of Embracer Group headlines. I actually noticed something very interesting. I was listening to Game Mess Decides, Jeff Grubb's podcast. And then when asked if Embracer Group is in trouble because of this deal's failure on his podcast, Game Mess Decides, Jeff Grubb stated the following. Grubb, they were screwed anyhow. That investment was an excuse. Things are bad, and also they didn't get that $2 billion deal that would have maybe fixed some stuff, but things were just bad because they made poor choices. This was a pretty big deal when it came out earlier in the week, and then it kind of just got sidelined. It's just very clear Embracer Group is in trouble. Dark, I know you had some thoughts on this. What do you feel?
I don't know. This feels like they're fumbling a lot as of late. Like you think of KOTOR, which we know is in like development hell, and is probably never releasing, in my opinion. You got this fumble a $2 billion deal. Like this sounds so ridiculous to me. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just a weird turn of events in general. Like, we didn't even know who the $2 billion deal was with. And
I'm sure we'll hear whisper soon, but even then, it's like
Amazon. Yeah, I've been hearing people saying I think Amazon. Amazon Gaming, they do want to get into the gaming space, and I feel like THQ is probably the one they would want to partner with for some reason. But hey, you can't really trust Amazon with anything.
That's true.
But I mean, in general, it's just what Grubb said on the podcast, because they made poor choices. I think that very much alludes to the fact that they bought so many studios in such a short amount of time and just didn't do anything with them. The economy, we saw how it took a major dip around 2020, 2021, around the pandemic. They were not prepared for that. And it's clear that they just weren't prepared for anything. It's just a weird turn of events, but honestly, not much else to say about it other than Embracer Group might be in trouble. Worst case scenario, I don't think they just shut down. I think the worst case scenario is they just get out of gaming. But even then, I don't really see that coming, at least not in the next few years.
I don't think they go out of the industry or anything like that, but they need to take a break and just reevaluate themselves.
100% agree. And then quick news story here. PlayStation business updates. This comes from Benji Sales over on Twitter. Just a small amount of things. PS5 supply and production fixed. 30% of PS Plus subscribers premium or extra. Big focus on new IP. PlayStation Studios games to cover every genre. Cross-media push. Balance of single player and live service. We definitely saw that at the showcase. And then I think the big headline I wanted to point out here. PSVR 2 is currently selling faster than PSVR 1. I don't know about y'all. I was very shocked when I saw that, considering it feels like they've been kind of putting VR2 on the back burner. But apparently it's selling better than the first VR. I mean, any thoughts on that?
Has anyone talked to anybody who has bought a PSVR 2?
I don't think it's saying much, because I don't think the first VR sold fast to begin with. I don't think that was much of a milestone. It just, there's more in the market, so it's selling faster, and even those sales are kind of mediocre.
Yeah, I think I would fully agree with that. But yeah, not much else to say other than, like, I guess Sony's doing pretty well for themselves, at least from a business standpoint. Last news story of the week. New Alone in the Dark showcase. This was actually originally going to be one of our big headlines, but the Naughty Dog headline really came in. New Alone in the Dark stars David Harbour and Jodie Comer is out in October. Posted by Chris Scullion over at VGC. Shout outs to them. Free playable prologue was available at the time of writing, at the 26th of May. I guess 26th of May, huh? Moon, you played this. What did you think?
It was very short. It's like literally you competed in about 15 minutes, maybe even less if you rushed it. But it's a definite prologue of kind of like setting up how the story is, like how they said in the video that you watched it. The story starts off with the crazy guy, I think his name's Jeremy, sends a letter off to his niece inviting her to the house. And that's what happens here is you meet Jeremy as this little girl, and then it gets mailed. Like, so this little girl takes the letter from him and posts it in the mail. So you're just this little girl with a letter wandering the house, and all this spooky crap happens. And I think the funniest thing about the prologue is, like, she is not bothered by it, like, one bit. Like, all this stuff jumps out at her. She enters like a mirror dimension almost, of like she's in the foyer of the household and suddenly turns into a swamp full of alligator monsters attacking her, and she's just like, "Oh, go away." It's the funniest thing to me, and I don't know, like, what is this supposed to mean? Like, is she in on it? Is she a creature herself? I don't know. Maybe those are the things you're supposed to be wondering, but it's interesting, and it tells like the story of like how that sets up for the actual game. So it'll be interesting to see like how that moves forward.
Would a fan of the oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just want to say I just think the only downside to this is since it's such a direct tie into the story, it's like, why are you putting this out in May and the game comes out in October? Like, I don't think anyone's going to be replaying this thing anytime soon to remember that. Granted, it's not a whole lot to remember. It just feels weird. Like, yeah, here's your prologue in May, like, and here comes the game in late October. It's like maybe you should have put this thing out in like September, early October, when everything is fresh. I don't know. It was kind of weird.
Yeah. What do you think a fan of the modern Resident Evil formula would be excited for something like this, or is it too early to tell?
Might be a little too early to tell, but it's definitely the same like DNA as a lot of third person over the shoulder horror games are now. As you saw in the video, they said it's a very limited like combat with guns and some other weapons. Like at least there are melee weapons in this, so you'll have that over Resident Evil. But there's like the little bit of gunplay, and there's a lot of puzzles and a lot of wandering around just looking for stuff, rifling through stuff. So I think a modern Resident Evil fan or a Dead Space or stuff like that will feel right at home at this game, from what I can tell.
That's awesome to hear. I'm really excited to check that out later this year. But that's pretty much it for all the headlines of the week. How about we move on over to what we've been playing? Just real quick, because we are actually going a little over. So I think we should just try to make this quick and snappy. Real quick, me and Bench, we've been playing a lot of Zelda. I don't know about you, Bench. I've been absolutely addicted to this game, just like I was with Breath of the Wild. I think this is a very much a worthy successor. Easily my game of the year so far. How do you feel?
I completely agree. I'm about 75 hours in and hope to wrap it up in the next week until Street Fighter 6's launch. So I just think better than Breath of the Wild. I can't see anything else touching this for Game of the Year, and it's one of the best games I've ever played.
Yeah, no, I've been messing so much with that fuse mechanic. It is an absolute treat, and as well as Ultra Hand, like everything in that game, it just is this massive sandbox that lets you play with every single tool. Whatever you do, it is okay. You can have fun with it. Dark, you've also played a bit of Zelda, a lot of Zelda. You beat the main story, if I'm correct.
I beat it. I've been like 100%ing it on the side. The game is absolutely phenomenal. I think I have like 80 shrines done at the moment. Just been tackling a lot of those. I also started KOTOR recently, so that's been the other game I've been going on about. Yeah, just started up today. Incredible from what I've been playing so far. I'm not that far in, of course, but I see why everybody praises it as they do.
That's good to hear. I've always wanted to check that out. Is the combat any good? Is that giving you any troubles?
Combat is very hit or miss. I don't know how to explain. It's like, I know you're gonna hate this. It's like Dragon Age and Xenoblade had a baby. It doesn't. You have to see the combat, and it makes sense. If you're familiar with Dragon Age, or if you're just a fan of Dragon Age 1, I think you really like this. The storytelling's incredible as well so far too. I don't have any real complaints.
That's awesome. I'm interested in checking that out, especially because the remake's definitely not happening anytime soon.
Yeah, that's the reason why I started it. Like, yeah, that's not happening.
Fusion, I've seen that you wrapped up Planet of Lana, a recent release, if I'm correct. What did you think?
Yeah, I think it legit came out 2 days ago, but it's very short. It took me like 5 hours. It's very charming. The art style is awesome. It's like a very like it tells the story through like the environments, so you're not getting like if you're not paying attention, you have no idea what's happening type game. Like it's one of those. It's kind of like Inside. It gave me a lot of Inside vibes. Like, but just more like upbeat and charming and like colorful. It's a good game. There's a lot of puzzles, but some of the puzzles dragged in my opinion. Like I think the overall pacing of the game was good, but there was a few puzzles where I'm like, I'm not a huge puzzle guy, and I didn't realize there was gonna be like the entire game is basically a puzzle. Like there's not like you don't have game combat. You're not fighting back against the enemies in the game. you're just like you're trying to get from point A to point B a lot by like going through a puzzle and like doing a lot of stealth. There's a lot of stealth mechanics, which I really like stealth, but I think it's worth a play. It's on Xbox Game Pass, so like everyone basically has Xbox Game Pass. So like if you have it, just it's like a 5 hour. Like it took me about 5 hours to get in there and play it. It's very short, like really charming. I think I laid at like a 7 out of 10 on my personal rating. So
It's good to hear. I was interested in checking that out as a big puzzle guy. I also see you're starting up Hellblade. Any thoughts on that so far?
I haven't started it, but that's my next. Hopefully tomorrow morning I jump into that because I want to get to it before that sequel. Even though
Yeah.
I hear mixed bags about the first Hellblade because I thought it was like a really good cult classic that everyone liked before I started to actually talk to people who's played it. And I've heard a lot of people be like, it's actually really boring. But well, I guess we'll see when I get to it. And it's also pretty short. I think How Long to Beat had around 7 hours. So like I might beat it by the end of the weekend. But I'm looking
that's good.
forward to it.
Nice. Moon, last up. You got 3 games on here. Just go in any order you want.
Yeah, so I'm just slowly chipping away at Persona 4. I got back into the groove after falling off for quite a while. I just started the video game dungeon
Oh, God.
of that character.
Have fun.
Um, is it that bad? I'm like on the
It's
8th floor. It's
I
not
hate the boss is bad. That's the
okay.
part that sucks. So just mentally prepare yourself for that one.
Goody. And then I just randomly picked up Proteus the other day, and I've been having a blast with that. I'm like on the 3rd or 4th level. It's a retro, like very classic Doom inspired boomer shooter. And I just picked that up because Dark and I were talking about that Warhammer game that came out that also is a very like not 8-bit, but like that kind of 8-bit style, like retro boomer shooter. And they just reminded me like, oh yeah, that Proteus game is on Game Pass. And like so I decided to give that a try instead of dropping the $21 for the Warhammer game. And I said, oh, this is actually kind of neat. And so I kind of it's now become my action game where I'm like, I need something a little bit more exciting than the turn base of Persona or the, what was the other game I picked up? What was the other game I put up?
Cassette
Cassette
Beast.
Beast. Yeah, that's also turn based. So as you can see, that's why I was like, I need something a little bit more actiony. So that's where I'm getting my action fix right now. But I didn't mention on there, but I did start Planet of Lana as well. And I'm not into that slow environmental puzzle thing, so it's not really grabbing me.
That's I was gonna ask you because I started you started to play it. That's one of my big things. It's very slow. Like even the character movement, like just going from point A to point B is just like kind of sluggish, probably on purpose. So you're not just like speed running through things. But that was one of my complaints is like even just the mantle, like when you mantle, it's a full animation every time of you like getting up and the mantle animation. It just looks so good though. Like the art style is like one of the best I've seen this gen, honestly.
Yeah, I mean it's a nice art style and the story is cute from what I know so far. And like, okay, this is about the story we're doing. So it's like it's nothing bad, but it's just like nothing that's grabbing me. But it's How Long to Beat has it listed at 4 hours, so I'm just like, I'll do it. Like I'll get this game done eventually somehow. Like I want to add it. And then I also started that humanity puzzle game, which is pretty interesting. It's what's called a Lemmings game, where it's a constant flow of something coming, and you gotta like make sure everything goes in the right direction to solve the puzzle. Um, it's interesting. It's a bit of a brain scratcher. Like you really gotta think outside the box for a lot of these things. But I'm like very lightly just playing those. I'm mostly focusing on a Persona and Proteus right now.
That's great to hear. And that's it for what we've been playing. Moon, I'm gonna actually run it back to you to handle the outro for that podcast.
Yeah, so we're just about the same time as we were last time, so we gotta get on that. But I think, like as we said, I don't know if we mentioned it on the podcast or afterwards. We are very much expecting this to happen because of all the showcases around this quote unquote E3 time and predictions, and then wrap ups of the showcase are always going to run longer. So, but until that's done, this probably will be the standard of the hour to hour and a half. And maybe once we get back to regular news, we'll be a little bit slower. But I hope everyone's enjoyed. Does anyone want to say anything before we go? Any final thoughts?
Play Zelda.
Play Zelda.
Yeah,
If you're one of the
Zelda.
if you're one of the like few people on the planet who haven't played Zelda,
just play it.
So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and you'll see you guys next week. Please sure to like, subscribe, follow on Spotify, and everything else that people usually say at the end of these things. Have a good one.
Have a good one,
Bye,
everyone.
guys.
Good one. Bye.